African savannah on safari, looking for... Mike, is that a lion stalking us? I think it's something much scarier. It's a search term report, and someone has keywords with 150% ACOS. Oh no, they never added any negative keywords. And it looks like all their bids are just $3. No bid optimization? We're in trouble. We need to do something about this giant ACOS, but I don't know if we can do it alone. Oh no, it's the ad badger. Should we run? No. The ad badger can save us. He'll rip that high ACOS to shreds with bid optimization and negative keywords.
What's going on, Badger Nation? It's Mike and Brett from Ad Badger, and you're listening to the PPC Den Podcast, the world's first Amazon PPC advertising podcast, and your source for all of the tips, tricks, and optimization strategies you need to get the most from your Amazon ads. What's going on, Badger Nation? Today we are digging in to Amazon PPC average conversion rate. And I'm joined by my co-host, Brett. How's it going?
Pretty good. How's it going, everyone? Happy to be here today. What's all this conversion rate stuff we are talking about today, Mike?
I don't know, but according to Google, we know it better than anyone, because when you ask Google what the average conversion rate is, there we are. Can you believe it?
Pretty incredible stuff. Before we dive into conversion rates today, guys, we do have a few little updates we wanted to share here. Do you want to kick those off, Mike?
I think the first update that just gets me pumped, you listening out there as fans of the show, you know that this show is, of course, sponsored by our software platform, and our software platform is leaving beta in 90 days on the nose. I couldn't be more excited. It's been a long beta, and we're finally getting ready to push it over the, I guess, technically it's not a finish line. It's more like a starting line, because we're just releasing 1.0 in 3 months from now. But it's still pretty cool.
Yep, pretty exciting stuff. Can we give a hard date for that yet, or are we keeping it super secret?
I'll give a hard date, June 3rd.
There it is. June 3rd, everybody. We will be out of beta and well on our way to continuing to create the very best Amazon PPC software we can.
That's right. Brett, we're talking about conversion rate today. Before we do, did you have any other updates?
We just welcomed Steven and Nemanja to the team. So we're both really excited to have both of them. They've been some awesome additions. So just wanted to give them a shout out personally. Do you have anything else to include, Mike?
Yeah, the Badger Den's getting more crowded. We got to move into a bigger office. It's a great time to be in the Badger Den. So let's jump in to conversion rate. And as Google said in the beginning of this episode, it's about 10%. And there's actually an interesting thing about conversion rate. So everyone knows what conversion rate is, I think. It's the rate at which you convert. But it's sort of what is the fraction that we're dealing with? We're dealing with orders over clicks. So if you have one order out of 100 clicks, you multiply that by 100 to get a percentage, that'd be 1% conversion rate. Now, for some reason, conversion rate is a little wonky, a little weird. Amazon likes to do things a little different. They don't like to do return on ad spend. They like to do ACOS. They saw Google over there doing ROAS, and they're like, you know what? I see you over there doing ROAS. We're going to do ACOS. We're going to be a little different. Also, I see you over there, Google, doing conversion rate. We're going to do a little different. We're going to have this thing, unit session. This is a tough word to say. I'm not even going to edit this out. It's a unit session percentage, which is inside your business reports that for some reason is not in your advertising campaign manager. So Amazon likes to do this, and just like many other things, a little different.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, a lot of people run into a little bit of confusion here, especially newer Amazon sellers who are getting into PPC. The first issue they have is actually understanding what their conversion rate is. The second thing that they run into is understanding what a good or what a poor conversion rate means. So we're really going to dive into all things conversion rate this episode, guys. We're going to tear into it and pretty much give you our full thoughts on everything that could affect your conversion rate and things that you should look out for.
That's right. We have this running post on our site. Just search Amazon PPC stats on Google or Amazon advertising stats on Google, and you'll find it. The thing that I'll say, no matter what, as we get into the sort of average conversion rate of Amazon PPC being around 10%, I definitely want to mention that no matter what yours is, remember, you're probably doing way better than you are on Facebook ads and Google ads if you are running ads over there too. On Facebook ads and Google ads, we're looking at 1% to 2% like click to sale conversion rate on maybe a good day. Like a great day is like a 2% conversion rate on Google ads or Facebook ads. So on Amazon, people are there to buy. The conversion rate, meaning the rate at which they make orders compared to how many times they're clicking on things, is in some cases literally 10 times greater on Amazon than it is on Google ads or Facebook ads. So the reason I mentioned that is because we're about to get into the math of pay-per-click advertising, the math of why this is important. And I'll hand it over to mathematician Brett. Brett, walk us through a little bit of the math that goes into pay-per-click, cost per click advertising. That's the arena that we play in.
Sure. So the way that I normally explain it is I start off with the average conversion rate, which is 10%. So if you have a 10% conversion rate, which is average, that means that you will get one conversion every 10 clicks, because 10% times 10 is 100%. So we need 10 clicks to get one conversion. We can multiply those 10 clicks by our average cost per click. So if your average cost per click is the average cost per click, which is around $1, and you need 10 clicks for a sale, we can kind of get to how much your cost per product purchase is going to be, basically. And that it would be 10% in this example. So it's a good idea to get a good understanding of the math behind your own unique PPC needs and really hammer down on that. And like Mike said, there's no perfect, ideal conversion rate. I mean, it would be 100%, obviously, but there's no right or wrong conversion rate. A 10% conversion rate will work awesome for some companies. And for some companies, a 3% conversion rate will work just great. The thing to really focus on is just to make sure that you understand the math behind your PPC. And that is basically the Bible that you operate your PPC by.
That's right. It's not so much about being perfect. It's about improving. So even if you're out there sitting pretty at an 11% or 15% conversion rate, don't rest on your laurels. Keep it pushing forward. Try to always optimize for conversion rates. So some of the things that we'll talk about in this episode. So it's more about moving forward, trying to push it forward, because if you are standing still, that means there is a world of competitors out there ready to swoop in on, someone who's maybe a little bit more stagnant. So always trying to be moving it forward. And if we get back to that math, if we have, one sale every 10 clicks and each click costs $1, that means we're spending $10 to get one sale. And if that sale, we generate $20 worth of revenue, so we just spent 10 over 10 clicks to get one sale worth $20, that means we spent $10 to generate $20 of revenue. What's our ACOS? Ad cost over sales. That's 10 over 20 or 50%. Now, for most people, 50% ACOS is very undesirable. We have a lot of content to talk about where your ACOS should be and all those good things. We want to focus on conversion rate. So if you are sitting with those sort of roundabout metrics, 10 clicks, you spend $10 to get $20 worth of revenue, that means you're sitting at a 50% ACOS. The next question that people normally ask is, hey, I'm at 50% ACOS. What do I do to get it down to 25%? And there's two things that you can do, to get yourself down to 25%. The first will require you to click your heels together and say, there's no place like home. Please double my conversion rate. Because then you get two sales, whereas you were just getting one, or you lower your bid. So that ad cost is a symptom of, your cost per click and how many clicks you got. So if you lower that, you lower your ad cost. And then on the flip side of that, if you increase how much revenue you get per click, that means you'll also lower your ACOS. So there's two ways to attack your ACOS. One is, without getting into targeting or anything like that. Let's say there's a keyword and, you want this keyword to convert really well. There's only one or two things you can do to improve the ACOS on that. Increase your conversion rate, which, if you're bidding on mason jars and you sell mason jars and you have a 50% ACOS on it, it's not like you can change the targeting for mason jars. You either modify your bid or you increase your conversion rate. And conversion rate is nuanced. It takes time to invest into improving your conversion rate. It is an investment, or you lower your bid. Perhaps you do both. You lower your bid temporarily, you attack the conversion rate, all these things that we're about to list, and then you gradually increase your bid again once your conversion rate goes up, so you get more visibility for it. So I think the math there, and I can go down these math labyrinth walks together as we dig into all of this different kinds of math. To me, this is I can sort of get into a beautiful mind writing math on the window, talking about, well, if they just had a better conversion rate here, we'd be able to bid more aggressively, we'd be able to get more clicks. So the conversion rate is the indicator. If it's lagging, that means you're going to have a really hard time getting your ACOS where you want it. Because if you can't influence your conversion rate, the only thing you can do to improve your ACOS on those sort of very unique situations underneath the microscope is to lower your bid. And for a lot of people, they don't want to, because there's a lot of good visibility that might be coming from a keyword. So we need to attack it from the conversion rate side. So with this episode, knowing that the average conversion rate is around 10%, hopefully that gives you a benchmark of where you can be. And of course, one thing we hope to do is have more data on benchmarks by industry. But for right now, we just have that general benchmark. Whew. But I said a lot of math. Did any of that seem to make sense?
Oh, I mean, you're totally right. This is a common issue that I hear about a lot. People will come to us and say, hey, I want to get my ACOS from 50% down to 25%. What can I do? And you're right. There's two things they can do. They can fix up their conversion rate and try to improve that, or they can lower their bid. A lot of the times, if they go with the lower the bid route, unfortunately, they're going to experience a bit of a drop in organic sales as well if you're kind of scaling back on the PPC side of things. So don't be surprised if that happens, guys. Lowering your bid is definitely a good option, but it's not the ideal option. Ideally, you would just want to improve your conversion rate and make sure that is fully optimized before going and playing with a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to dive into all this. We're going to make sure that you can try to squeeze as much out of that conversion rate as possible. And
can I jump in here, Brett, too?
Yep.
I think it's worth mentioning too. Let's say we have an auto campaign, and that auto campaign has a conversion rate of 3%. And we want it to get it to 6%. With something like that, one thing you can do, you can attack your targeting, which can improve your conversion rate. So if you're showing up for a lot of things that just aren't converting, you can go in, add negatives, like we talked about in the last episode 15. You can go in and add negatives and then potentially be blocking a lot of clicks that don't convert. In turn, improving your conversion rate, in turn, helping you get a better ACOS. So there's different ways to attack conversion rate. Obviously, improving your organic side, all of those things that we're about to list, all of those things definitely help. And then, of course, you want to attack it from the PPC side and make sure your targeting is exactly where it needs to be. And if you do have a keyword that is lagging behind, sure, you can decrease the bid. That doesn't necessarily mean, it's a goner. Let's say you're getting 100 clicks a month, but the ACOS is 50%. You lower the bid, maybe you'll just get 40 clicks a month, but you'll get them at a profitable rate. And then what you could hope to do from there is just build an army of these keywords. Hey, maybe they don't convert at 10%, but if you bid the appropriate amount for them, then maybe you'll just have an army of keywords that you're getting clicks on, not individually, not that many, but when you add them all up, it actually adds up to quite a bit. So that's sort of long tail strategy. So there's lots of different ways to attack conversion rate. I want to talk about a little bit about what you do on the product. So if you do have a bad conversion rate, and I say bad as relative, meaning you could potentially have a 2% conversion rate and have a phenomenal ACOS. But if you have a bad conversion rate, as indicated by maybe an ACOS you are uncomfortable with, what are some things that could be causing that, Brett?
So the first thing I usually kind of check for is competition level in your niche or just other very similar products to yours. So if you're competing against something like an Amazon Basics product, which is just killing the margins and they're winning on price, they have thousands of reviews, that can definitely make it tough, and that can kind of lower your conversion rate because you can lose a lot of sales to those other sellers. So this, you can kind of check in and get a good idea of how competitive your niche is if you look at your CPCs for your most relevant keywords. So if your cost per click is right around average, then you probably know that you're okay there. So that's the first thing. The second thing you kind of touched on there a little bit, Mike, that has more to do with PPC. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more, or do you want me to just jump right into some of the things in actual products that can cause a bad conversion rate?
Yeah, just to touch on that one more time, because I do think, as PPC, as best practice for paid traffic, we are paid traffic stewards trying to instill good best practices. When you want to know what level you're looking at your conversion rate on. If you're looking at your account-wide conversion rate, well, then you need to go a step further and look at it by campaign. And then when you're looking at it by campaign, you want to look at it down by ad group. And then you want to look at all the different products that have different conversion rates. Then you want to look at all the search terms or the ASINs where you're getting impressions on and see the conversion rates of them, and use that as a guideline. So if you see something below average, you know that you can probably go in there and trim some of the fat and increase the overall conversion rate, therefore increasing your ACOS over the long run. Even if you see things that are above average, I see this a lot where someone has a great ACOS, 15%, but then we go in a little bit deeper and maybe there's 20 keywords in there and one keyword has like a 70% ACOS, a 1% conversion rate. Going in there and tweaking that, trimming the fat, can even be helpful for something that's converting fairly well. So plenty to do in terms of making sure that the impressions and the clicks that you're getting are relevant for your company.
Absolutely. And that's most of the PPC stuff, guys, that that can cause a poor conversion rate here. But there's also a lot of stuff inside of your product itself, inside of your listing itself, that could cause a lot of issues with your conversion rate. So, here at Ad Badger, we do like to stick mostly to PPC because that is our alley. That's what we do best. But we do just want to touch on these things so you can kind of brainstorm this stuff, maybe check through your own listings, make sure none of these are issues, because this stuff definitely can have some awesome positive benefits for the PPC side of thing if you do them really well. So some of those things with your actual product or listing itself that could cause adverse effects on your conversion rate would be things like the quality of your title and your bullet points, all your copy. I mean, do you have the most relevant and the highest traffic keywords in your listing and also in the back end of your listing? So Amazon actually understands what your product is. I mean, images are huge. Your main image is obviously the most important. But you could, include things like packaging on your main image. All of your images should be at minimum 1001 pixels by 1001. If they're just 1000 by 1000, the customer won't be able to zoom in on them, and that can really hurt your conversion rate, actually. So make sure that every single picture you have is at least 1001 by 1001 pixels, so people can actually scroll over the image and zoom in. Make sure you fill out all of your images, all 7. Most categories is 7. Some other categories have more. Make sure you're incorporating lifestyle images where you actually have people looking at your product or actually using the product, so a customer can envision themselves using your product. These are all great things for your conversion rate. There's more, like you can get brand registered and you can sign up for EBC, which is enhanced brand content. That can help your conversion rate because you'll have more pictures and tidier format for your description down below. Reviews is probably the biggest thing. Social proof. How many reviews do you have? And what is the actual score of your reviews? So statistically, you need to get to 15 reviews for your listing to be taken seriously by the average Amazon customer. So if you have less than 15 reviews right now and you're wondering why things are not selling, or wondering why your conversion rate is poor, even wondering why organic traffic feels so stale, it's your reviews, guys. There's other things like FBA and FBM, which fulfillment method are you using? Generally, FBA is more beneficial, for a higher conversion rate because customers know they'll get fast shipping and Amazon's customer support. And then another thing to look out for is pricing. Are you competitively priced relative to your competitors? And if you were a customer, would you buy your own listing? That is the most important question. And with all that, I'll hand it right back to you, Mike.
At the risk of sounding like an old man, wagging my finger, all of these things, title, bullets, images, and all the tips about the images, all of those things, just a word, because sometimes I see this too. Sometimes people will do all of those things, but they'll do it at maybe like 50% effort. They're like, okay, yeah, I have a lifestyle photo, but it's actually just a stock photo, and I inserted the product inside Photoshop. And it's like, yeah, you kind of did it. I mean, competitions, and sometimes having bullets is like, yeah, I have bullets, but are the bullets meaningful to customers? Yeah, I have, the best practices for titles, but is it exactly what people want? I was talking with a customer and they were selling party packs, and it was this party variety pack to help decorate. And, I think on one listing, not theirs, but on one of their competitors, it actually didn't list in the bullet points what was actually inside the variety pack of all the different decorations that you would get, how many balloons or how many streamers and so on. So really take some time and actually make sure that we have good product market fit. Are we giving the people what it is that they're looking for? And, all right, I'll get off my soapbox and stop telling kids to eat their vegetables. Last thing to know about conversion rate is that it's all relative. I just saw an account, they're spending $89,000 a month, give or take. They had a 5.1% conversion rate, but their ACOS was 30%. So I think it can be, different by industry. Always be thoughtful with whatever benchmarks you set up for your company. Sure, we have a general benchmark, but every industry is slightly different. The higher the price point, the more you can get away with a lower conversion rate. At one point in time, I think it was light bulbs. They had super duper high conversion rates. And they needed super duper high conversion rates because they were only selling something that was, $5-6. And then on the other hand, I've seen people selling furniture and they had super low conversion rates because it was pretty expensive, but both companies' ACOSs were fairly similar. So I think there's some relativity that we can apply to this whole conversation. I know metrics and benchmarks are important, but be sure no matter where you are, if you are better than the benchmark or worse than the benchmark, always have a mindset that what can I do to try to improve it? Don't rest on your laurels, always try to push it forward.
Yep. And guys, if you feel like your sales are kind of stagnant or struggling, there's a good chance that you may have an issue with your conversion rate. So I think what would be a good idea is if people listening to this who are not aware of what their conversion rate are, if you go into Seller Central and into the ad manager or the campaign manager and look at how many actual orders you have, and then look at your clicks. Divide your order over clicks, and you're going to understand what your conversion rate is. And that's going to give you a lot of information and kind of tell you what you need to do next in your business. It's kind of like a roadmap, sort of. You can basically look through your conversion rate and other metrics and see what's not going well and kind of adjust it as we go, because PPC and Amazon itself are very similar in that there's just constant optimization and constant things that can be improved. So find out that conversion rate. If it's below average, maybe look into some of this stuff. That's right.
Life is one big conversion rate. How many times do I do something until I get what I was looking for? So that's all. That's it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can listen to all of our episodes at adbadger.com/podcasts, and I will see you next time in the Badger Den.